For this tutorial, we're going to play around with a series of filters to try to create kind of a painted, almost cartoon type of look on a photo. So open up the picture of LeBron James. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select him out of the background. So we're going to duplicate this layer first. So I'm going to press Control or Command J. What that'll do is that will duplicate it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this to LeBron. I like to use like duplicate the background layer so that I have a copy of it just in case I mess something up. So what we're going to do is we're going to select him out. So I'm going to come over here where the quick select tool is. If you press the W on your keyboard, it will take you there. The thing is, though, it usually will take you to the magic wand. You want the quick selection. This is going to allow us to use the brush. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to actually paint on him to make the selection. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to make my brush just a little bit bigger. So I'm clicking up here in the empty area just to deselect what I had. And I'm going to use my right bracket key. And I'm going to tap around, keeping the circle of the brush inside of the body. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag down. If you end up going outside, you're going to grab too much. You can hold down the Alt key and you can paint that part away. We're going to do the cleanup here in just a second. This tool is called the Quick Select because it's not about making the perfect selection. It's about getting it as close as possible and then zooming in. So I'm going to press Control plus a few times. I'm going to press the space bar so that I can click and drag. And I'm going to start with the fingers. So I missed some of his fingers. So I'm going to reduce the size of my brush. So I'm pressing the left bracket on the keyboard. And I'm just tapping right on the tip of his finger, making sure that the brush didn't go over the edge. If it does, once again, just press Alt. And you can start to clean that little edge up. You notice how it goes in for a second and then kicks back out. Photoshop is trying to figure out, based on the pixels that are out here, what I'm actually trying to select. So what I'm doing is now I'm holding down the Shift key and clicking with my mouse. It looks like I missed part of his ear. So I'm going to do that part. I come up here, work my way around the rest of his body. Looks like I missed part of his beard. Let's go ahead and grab that. Looks like I'm actually missing this entire shoulder part. See how the marching ants come down here? I'm going to go ahead and snap that into place. All right, now I'm going to use the Alt key, and I'm going to use the edge of my brush to kind of slightly cut in. I'm just tapping. I'm not actually dragging my mouse. Sometimes the dragging, not only will it slow down the computer because the Photoshop is trying to figure out what I'm doing, but also it may end up grabbing or eliminating too much. So I'm letting Photoshop's little refine edge automatically look for the pixels. It's really important. The better your photo quality, the more you're going to be able to have Photoshop automatically find things. I'm going to switch to my lasso. When I come in here, I'm also going to press my Alt key. And what I want to do is I want to subtract that part out. So I just dragged around. If I end up getting too much out, like say I did that part, you just switch to Shift. So Alt is about eliminating the selection, and Shift is about adding to it. Looks like I missed the bottom portion of his shorts down here. So I'm going to switch back to the Quick Select. Notice how the Quick Select has a plus sign in it. It means that it's adding automatically. So I'm not even having to hold down the Shift. If for some reason it's not working on yours, it probably means that this first one is selected. See how the circle has no symbol in it? That has a minus. I'm sorry, a plus. And that one has a minus. So just little subtle things to keep an eye out for. And I'm working my way down. Awesome. Okay, so that's looking pretty good right there. I'm going to press Control-0 to zoom out. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and come down to the Layers panel, and I'm going to click on the mask. So it doesn't look like anything happened, but when I turn off the visibility of this background layer, you've now got this. And it looks like I totally missed this entire area of his jersey. It didn't grab it. So that's very common. You're going to end up missing stuff sometimes. So let's go ahead and take this and zoom in a little bit. And let's fix that little edge. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come in. I am going to hold down the Shift key. and I'm going to click on the mask just to temporarily hide it. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to come back over here, take my quick select again, and this time I'm going to select essentially this white area. I don't have to get the entire thing. So that's showing that's the area that's messed up. And I'm going to switch to my regular brush. So I'm going to press the letter B as in boy. There's my brush. I'm just going to tap right on inside of there. What that did is it limited it so that it didn't actually go outside of the edge. Just make sure that when you're doing that, you're on the mask, not on the photo. If you're on the photo, look what happens. It paints on there. You don't want that. You want to be on the mask. Then you can press Control D to deselect. And then what I'm going to do just temporarily is I'm going to put a new blank layer right underneath of this photo. And I'm going to switch to white and I'm going to fill it. So I'm going to press Alt or Option on your keyboard if you're on a Mac, and that will fill that with white. What that does is that helps to select him out of the background. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to add a really quick little kind of wave out here. So we're going to switch to the Pin tool. On the Pin tool, I'm going to switch to Path up here. I'm going to change the fill, and I'm going to click on this little color picker, and I'm going to come somewhere out in the photo. I want to grab kind of this bluish color. Actually, now that I think about it, maybe we want to go a little bit more classic purple. Okay. And then I'm going to change this. That part's not going to matter as much now that I think about it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to just draw a very quick little piece here in the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click, and I'm just kind of clicking and pulling with my mouse. It'll create this little bit of a wave. Then I come down here to the outside, click again, and click again. I'm going to move that up just a little bit. I just want to have a little bit of a little swirl or something going on towards the background. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all three of these layers. Now, the way that I select 3 layers is I hold my mouse button down on this white background. I'm just going to call that white. And now I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click on this top LeBron layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this into a smart object. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to do Convert to Smart Object. So it puts this tiny little symbol in there. We'll talk a little bit more about what that does in a minute. But right now, what I would like to do is go in and start to play around with some of the special effects. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to actually go to the filter, and we're going to go to Filter Gallery. And we're going to choose, I'm going to hold down the space bar here to move this around so we can kind of see his face and see what's happening. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here under Artistic, and I'm going to look for Poster Edges. Now with the poster edges, we'll have to experiment a little bit with this just to kind of see what comes up. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of drag these edge thicknesses around. And depending on the speed of your machine, this might actually bog down just a little bit when you're doing this. So see how it's getting a lot more speckled. If I drag this down, see it gets much simpler. And then it doesn't look like anything's really happening there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just put this one on 4. So if you want to go for speed, just type in 4, 0, 0, and 4. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click OK. And what I'd like to do is I want to duplicate this layer. So I'm going to press Control J and Control J. I'm going to turn those 2 layers off for right now. And now that I think about it, I actually want to get rid of that smart filter. So I'm going to delete that layer by dragging that down to the trash can. And I'm going to grab this smart filter and drag that to the trash can. So what I'd like to see is just the photo and the smart filter on that one layer. So now when we zoom in a little bit, you can see it's got like a little kind of texture that's happening there. We're going to go back in and we're going to start doing some more stuff to this. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that you have the LeBron layer selected. And then you've got your smart filter here. This means we can always go back and make adjustments to it, but we're going to add to this smart filter. So we're going to go to filter, sharpen, and we're going to do Unsharp Mask. What this is going to do is it's going to tighten up some of the color and some of the detail that's here. So go ahead and type in 65 and 5 and click OK. And then the real magic's going to come from this part right here. We're going to go to filter. We're going to go to, let's see, where is this one at? They just moved this recently. We're going to go to stylize and we're going to go to oil paint. What this is going to do is this is really where a lot of the texture is going to come from. So if you look in this preview right here, if you hold your mouse button down, you can actually drag the photo. You can also hold the mouse button down and see what it looked like before and then see what it looks like after. You can press the minus here to start to see what's happening. It's got a little bit of texture and stuff there. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to play around with the stylization. So as I drag this around, you're going to have to give it a minute because it will run a little bit slow. We're going to start, and I'll just give you the numbers. 6.6 for the cleanliness. Let's go ahead and change the cleanliness to like 5.2. That's starting to kind of get some texture that's there. Let's do the scale as 0.1. For the bristle detail, we'll do 0. For the lighting angle, we'll do 0. And for the shine, we'll do 0. And then click OK. Now at this point, if you haven't saved in a while, I'd recommend saving. Now, see, one of the things that's kind of cool is like what it's done to the tattoo. It's kind of swirled that around a little bit. It's got these painterly strokes. And over here on the basketball, it's got some really interesting textures and stuff that are happening. Same kind of thing here to the lettering and down here on the short. So it's starting to kind of create a little bit of a painted look and kind of these swirls and stuff happening up in the hair. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start playing around with adding some more textures and stuff to this in the next video. So at this point, make sure you're saving. And then in the next video, I will show you how to apply even more filters to sharpen up the edges and start to finalize this effect.